The mirror in the attic. It had been years since Sarah had visited her grandmother's old house, but when the family decided to sell it, she volunteered to help clear it out. The house stood in the middle of the woods, isolated and crumbling. It was filled with dust and memories, but the most unsettling thing about it was the attic. Even as a child, Sarah avoided it. There was always something wrong with that space. On the third day of packing, curiosity got the better of her. She found herself standing at the foot of the narrow stairs that led up to the attic. Armed with a flashlight and some courage, she slowly climbed up, each creak of the steps echoing through the empty house. The attic was musty, filled with old furniture and covered in cobwebs. In the corner stood an old, covered mirror. She didn't remember it being there before. Its size was immense, nearly as tall as the ceiling, but its surface was hidden under a thick, dusty sheet. Despite a strange feeling of dread, Sarah found herself drawn to it. She pulled the sheet away, revealing a large, antique mirror framed in dark wood. But something was wrong. The reflection staring back at her wasn't quite right. At first glance, it was her, but the longer she looked, the more she realized the woman in the mirror was subtly different. Her eyes were darker, and there was a malicious grin playing at the corners of her mouth. Heart pounding, Sarah stepped back, but the reflection didn't follow. The woman in the mirror stayed in place, her grin widening. Suddenly, the figure raised a hand and waved slowly, mockingly. Sarah froze in horror. Then the reflection stepped forward, as if trying to escape the glass. Sarah stumbled back, but it was too late. The attic grew colder, and a whisper filled the air. "You let me out." The woman in the mirror pressed her palms against the glass. A crack spread across its surface, and before Sarah could react, the mirror shattered, spilling darkness into the room. As Sarah tried to run, she felt something cold and sharp wrap around her wrist. She looked down, and there was the reflection's hand, pale, twisted fingers gripping her tightly. She screamed, but no sound came. Slowly, the reflection began to pull her into the mirror. With a final desperate gasp, Sarah disappeared into the shattered glass. The attic was silent once more. When the family returned days later, they found the mirror back in place, unbroken and gleaming, but Sarah was never seen again. Sometimes, late at night, if you stand in front of a mirror and stare long enough, you might notice something strange. A woman, not quite you, standing just a little too close, smiling as she waits for the right moment to step through.